Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headache stack. Restlessness to hell.
This could be one of the craziest examples of how wild the smartphone market has become in 2026. And when buying a new phone, performance is everything. Meet the upcoming Redmi K100 Pro Max.
Big thanks to my tech partner over in China for providing this footage. I really appreciate the support in making this video happen. Hey everyone, Stella here from techiestreet. If you're into staying updated with the newest gadgets, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our latest tech content.
But here's the shocking part. The new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is expected in just 2 months, yet Redmi reportedly decided not to wait. The K100 Pro Max uses the same Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip as the K90 Pro Max. So naturally, I had one question: what's actually different? If the processor is unchanged, how much better can the performance really be? After real-world testing and building a 6-dimensional performance chart, the answer became much clearer. And honestly, it was surprising. Overall, the K100 Pro Max outperformed the K90 Pro Max in almost every area. Peak burst performance was nearly identical, meaning both phones share almost the same raw processing ceiling. But things changed in video exporting, power efficiency, temperature control, and stability. So while the chip is the same, Redmi has clearly done serious work with the tuning. Now let's get into the numbers. In Geekbench 6, the K100 Pro Max scored 3677 single-core and 11,360 multi-core, right around what we'd expect from a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phone. But gaming is where this gets really interesting. In our first Genshin Impact test, we used 880p resolution and maximum graphics. The K100 Pro Max averaged 59.9 FPS, with a 55.1 FPS 1% low. Power consumption was just 3.87 W, while temperature reached only 38.3 degrees Celsius. That's seriously impressive. Its 1% low was about 5 FPS higher than the K90 Pro Max. Even crazier, it had the lowest power consumption among the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phones we've tested so far. And remember, the K100 Pro Max doesn't even have a cooling fan, yet its temperature was almost identical to the K90 Pro Max, which does have one. Pretty crazy, right? Of course, Genshin is heavily tested, so optimization could be playing a role. That's why we moved to a second scenario with a section where game optimization is less consistent. This time, we used 800p resolution and maximum graphics. Again, the results were impressive. The K100 Pro Max averaged 59.9 FPS, with a 50 FPS 1% low. Power consumption reached 4.9 W, and temperature hit 41.7 degrees Celsius. And once again, the difference was huge. Compared with the K90 Pro Max, the K100 Pro Max delivered a 1% low nearly 16 FPS higher, while using 1.67 W less power and running about 3.5 degrees Celsius cooler. At this point, it barely feels like these phones use the same chip. So what's causing this massive difference? The key appears to be the GPU utilization. Using a performance analysis tool, we found the K90 Pro Max running around 80% GPU utilization, while the K100 Pro Max reached roughly 85%. That extra GPU utilization helps explain its much stronger 1% lows, with an improvement of around 16 FPS. But here's the bigger mystery. If the K100 Pro Max pushes the GPU harder, why does it use less power and produce less heat? The answer appears to be the CPU. During the same test, the CPU utilization on the K90 Pro Max was around 14.5%, while the K100 Pro Max used only about 10.1%. The CPU frequency graph made the difference even clearer. The K90 Pro Max spent much more time at higher frequencies. Meanwhile, the K100 Pro Max stayed at a relatively low load for most of the test. And that's the secret. The K100 Pro Max's more efficient CPU behavior helps it deliver better power efficiency, lower temperatures, and stronger stability, even though both phones use the exact same processor.
All of this shows that the K100 Pro Max has seriously changed how the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 is tuned and optimized. Instead of just relying on raw power, Redmi is pushing the chip closer to its real potential. Now we move to our third and toughest game, Star Trek. We tested it for 30 minutes at 780p high graphics. The K100 Pro Max averaged 59.5 FPS with a 31.8 FPS 1% low. Power consumption was 5.43 W-watts, while temperature reached 42.7 degrees C. For such a demanding test, that temperature is impressive. Even under heavy gaming, the K100 Pro Max was about 4 degrees C cooler than the K90 Pro Max. And it gets better. Compared with other Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 performance phones, the K100 Pro Max used less power while delivering roughly 2 to 3 FPS higher 1% lows. So don't assume that using the same processor means the same experience. In real-world performance, the K100 Pro Max almost feels like a half-generation upgrade. But Redmi has another trick, a 185 Hz display. With ultra-light graphics, Crossfire can actually run at its native 185 FPS mode. Our test reached an average of 184.5 FPS, basically maxing out the display. The 1% low was still an impressive 160.1 FPS. Power consumption, just 4.35 watts. Temperature, only 37.7 degrees C. Honestly, that's better than expected. And Crossfire isn't alone. Other FPS games can also activate the 185 Hz super high frame rate mode through the phone's built-in gaming tools. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard the K100 Pro Max would use the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, I didn't understand Redmi's decision. Why not wait a couple of months for the next generation chip? But after actually testing the phone, the strategy started making sense. Maybe Redmi isn't falling behind. Maybe it's giving optimization more time. For years, smartphone brands have chased newer, faster processors. But in that race, software tuning and hardware optimization can easily be overlooked. Redmi may be taking a different approach. Instead of rushing toward a new chip, take the existing one and squeeze out more performance and efficiency. That can deliver a meaningful real-world upgrade while giving Redmi more time to optimize its next generation. And honestly, 2026 is getting crazy for smartphones. Memory and processor prices are rising, putting huge pressure on phone costs. If Redmi used an even newer Snapdragon 8 or Gen 6 chip, a phone like this could potentially start around 6,000 yuan. So this strategy might actually make sense. Keep the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, optimize it aggressively, and maintain a more cost-effective price. Redmi may have found a pretty interesting balance between performance and value. And that's it for today's video. Which phone should I test next? Let me know in the comments. Your choice could be featured in the next episode. For more videos like this, tap the avatar on the right and check out the channel. And if this video helped you, save it, like it, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.